Is being recorded. There we go. All right. So, we'll try that one more time. Welcome to our October program. I am Carrie Sudi. For those who don't know, I am the program chair for ICF High Country Chapter. Super excited to have y'all here. And normally what we do in our programs is we kick off with Mariana, our president, to share some new things that are coming up, things that we need to be keeping in mind. And then we're going to turn it over to our guest speaker, James Garrett, who is with us. Super excited for that session. But we'll start first with Mariana.
Hi, thank you. I'll be brief, and then it'll go back to Carrie to introduce James, and then to James, and then we go from there. So I just wanted to share kind of two updates, and one of them is from ICF Global, and that is all about the report that they recently released on mental well-being and coaching. So if you receive our newsletter, you would have seen the link to that report and a couple of stats from that report, but I am going to paste that. I'll do it after I'm done talking. I'll paste the report in the chat. And so the snapshot essentially reveals that there's a rising demand for well-being support in coaching. 26% of coaches reported that over half of their clients are seeking help in that area. And 72% of internal coaches emphasize the need for more training to meet the demand. So you can check out the report, just look into it a little bit more. Obviously, we know that there are lines that we don't want to blur within coaching. So it's like, how can we help support this, right? Without kind of overstepping those coaching boundaries. The other piece I wanted to share was just an update on our membership model change. So in the newsletter, you would have seen a message from me, just kind of discussing the overview of our shift to a new membership model. And I'll share with you a little graphic in just a moment. So essentially, we're moving to a model where global members affiliated with our chapter, ICF High Country, will no longer need to pay a separate chapter membership fee. So it's going to simplify the way that you all engage with our programs and our resources. We are adding some new benefits and perks as a part of ICF High Country. We'll have, high quality events and more opportunities to get to know one another and have that meaningful engagement and connection, and just increase the value of what you get from the chapter. And so that's for those who will be global members affiliated with our chapter. There will be shifts in like pay-as-you-go options and things for people who are not necessarily ICF Global members who want to still be involved with our chapter. And we'll be doing a lot more expanding our outreach into all 6 states of our region. And we're also going to be rolling out a volunteer initiative to, again, create more of that connection and engagement. So really quickly, I'm going to share the graphic that was sent out to all of you. So here it is. And again, it's in our newsletter. And you are always welcome to email our membership chairs if you have further questions. And I'll share that information in the chat as well. So as of October 1st, 8 days ago, and existing chapter affiliates, so those who may already be global members and or paid that chapter membership fee, that will change on the 1st. So you will have no additional cost. You'll have pay-as-you-go options for specific events, especially if they have CEUs attached. There will be monthly Coaches Connect meetings as we've been doing, quarterly huddles, and then chapter reserve members as of the new year will have the same benefits as chapter affiliates. And then community associates who are not necessarily ICF members will have those pay-as-you-go options and have access to some of those other connection kind of events. So again, we want to be clear and transparent and kind of be able to roll this out in a way where questions can be answered and kinks can be worked out. So if you do have questions, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to our membership chairs, but we'll kind of keep you posted as we go. And that's it from me.
Thanks, Mariana. And Mariana will be with us. So if you have any immediate questions, feel free to put them in the chat, but she'll also let you know the membership email. That's probably the better place to send those questions to as well, just as we're building and expanding our board. So it's exciting to see us streamlining the membership options and hope that works for folks. So, before I introduce James, one other thing I just want to share with everyone here at the ICF High Country Chapter programs, we do ask that everyone stay until the end in order to get your CCUs. We have 1.5 CCUs today. I think it's 0.5 in core and 1 in resource development. There'll be a survey that I'll put the link in towards the end that you'll be able to fill out, and you'll also get that via email. When you fill out that survey, then the certificate will come right to you. So I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that that's how we do things for the CCEU credits. And without further ado, so excited to have James joining us for the you're going to say this so much better than I am. The Funcomfortable, the uncomfortably fun truth about growth. A couple things to know about James. He is a brain coach. So we might want to ask him a little more about what is a brain coach. He is the founder of Brain by Design. He has spoken on stages ranging from Harvard to TEDx, and his work has been featured by the New York Times, Fast Company, and Harvard Business Review. He has spent years doing research with some of the best psychologists in the world at Columbia, Tufts, and Yale. He is a content creator, a course builder, and he's got his course called Brain Science for Coaches, which we might hear about a little later. It's been rated as one of the best courses for coaches, and it's currently certified by ICF. You'll get about 30 CCEUs from attending that course. What else? Something that I think is kind of neat is that James built one of the only brain-based positive psychology curricula in the Middle East and has trained thousands of Arab youth in partnership with Queen Rania of Jordan and her programs, which is a really beautiful way of giving back. So love that. Anyway, James, we are thrilled and ecstatic to have you here, helping us maybe get comfortable with the discomfort or having fun with the discomfort. All the goods. Yeah. So thank you and welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carrie and Mariana. Thank you both so much. Hey, everybody. I feel like this is my home crowd. Like this is y'all are my peeps. Like you are my people. It's been so long. It just feels like honestly, there's something about just like being with folks in the Intermountain West, and I'm like, oh, like my body relaxes. It's so weird. It's like I just know all of you. You're like my neighbors growing up. Anyway, so good to be with you. Thank you so much for taking the time and for I know you're all busy, but I appreciate you spending the time this afternoon together. This topic has been blowing my mind for a couple years now. I wish it weren't true that growth requires some discomfort. That would be like if a genie asked, what do you wish for? I would wish for that one. But the science seems to say otherwise. And so we're going to get into this, why discomfort is a necessary condition for growth, and specifically how to help our clients and ourselves get better at discomfort in the service of growth, right? We're not just trying to do crazy hard things and do emotionally uncomfortable things for the sake of it. It's actually usually in the service of something bigger, some goal we have, some relationship we want to improve, some outcome or something we want in our lives. I would dare argue that this is a pretty maybe bold statement to say, but I think it's one of the central, if not, well, I don't want to say it too big, but it's certainly top three skills, I believe, in what creates a successful life. Behavior change is probably right up there as well. But this one, people get stuck on it because most of the sort of experiences we have in life are about making us more comfortable, not seeking discomfort. This seems like totally crazy. Like, why would you do that, right? So we're going to unpack the paradox because there's a lot of seeming contradictions in this research. We're going to try to unpack that. So here we go. I would be remiss if we didn't have some stories to go with today. I love stories. So, given that I like to throw myself as the human guinea pig and hurl myself into awkward and uncomfortable situations to test the science to see if it actually is true in my experience, says it's true in some books. What about my experience, right? We're going to start with this. I want you to imagine that these are your feet about to take a dip in this lovely little swimming hole. Now, I know that it gets cold where all of you are, because it only goes as far south as Utah, right? Utah, Wyoming, Montana. Is that right?
Well, and yeah, Wyoming. I think we have a couple
And the
Nevada
Dakotas, the
and the
Dakota. So
Dakotas.
it's
Dakotas.
Okay.
Utah,
So it's
Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, Dakotas. Yeah.
Yeah,
with no, not Colorado, right?
not Colorado.
Okay. So with the exception of southern Utah, you all know what this looks like. Um, what words come to mind if you were about to get in? Just go ahead and put it in the chat. Nope. Pain. Why? Fear. Haha. Nope. Yikes. These are good. These are good. What else? This is good. These are your feet. You're about to go in. Not dip your feet in, all the way up to your neck. All right. Massively uncomfortable. Courage. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anybody else? What emotions come up for you? Shrinkage, Pete. Honesty. Well, at least we got on it. We're being honest in this group. I appreciate that. Will I die? Byron, it crossed my mind. Luxurious care. Okay. So these are in fact my feet. Yep, these are my feet. And I was doing this kind of bizarre little thing well, it was I guess it was a year and a half ago, February. But I want to take back to day one of that experience because I hate cold water. I did a lot of water skiing growing up, actually. And so, and go figure, every lake in Utah, with the exception of Lake Powell, is horrifically cold. And I was always like the last one to get in the water. My family all know this. They all laugh at me because they're like, oh, who's going last? Well, we know James is going to go last. I hate cold water. I just hate it. So I'm like, okay, I've got to overcome this one because there's something to me specifically that I want to see if cold tolerance and getting better at discomfort with cold water is actually possible or if there's just some myth people talk about. So this is day one of my little experiment. One more time, just to get my career. All right, here we go. Here we go. Go on. Here we go. All right. It's a really good idea. This is a really good idea. This is such a good idea. How good idea this is. It's such a good idea. This is my idea. I was the one who had this idea. I'm the one who had this idea. It's such a good idea. I can't believe what a good idea this is. Oh, it's such a good idea.
You stay in there longer than I would have.
Okay, that was day one. It was well, thank you, Gary. Very kind of you. I did it. It lasted, I don't know, it was around mid 20s, 26 or something seconds. Um, uh, as you might expect, I'd never been in water at 33 degrees. I didn't even know water existed at that temperature. I was pretty sure that was like, I knew what, we all know water freezes at 32, but you think of like, oh, that happens in the Arctic or something, maybe. No, it's like it happens if you have sitting water outside during the winter all the time. And it was brutal. I was like, wow, sure doesn't feel like this is going to change. Sorry, did somebody say something? It sure didn't feel like it, right? Like it felt like this is going to be this painful every single time I do it. So my brain is now predicting that this is going to be awful. But I wanted to do this experiment, so I started doing this every day for the entire month. And on the last day of the month, this is the experience. And I want you to just notice what was different about time 1 and time 28. Yep.
Ooh, James, we're not getting to hear you. We can't hear any sound if you have it.
Resharing with the sound share.
Sound, yeah.
Could you hear the first one?
Just very, very low.
I know. Yeah, that's a unsolvable problem that I've tried to solve like 17,000 different ways.
But we'll
I
get the
am
gist, even if we can't hear it real loud.
sound. I am sharing it with sound, and every volume is all the way up. So I'm so sorry. You'll get the gist. That's right. All right, here we go. There we go. That's nice. All right, so the video sort of fast forwards here because it goes on for a while. This one lasted 8 minutes and 27 seconds. My dog's obviously worried about me.
James, what was the day on this one? The day
28
count 28.
February.
Yes! Yes!
Okay. Okay. So between day 1 and day 28, what did you notice that was different? Feel free to put it in the chat or just open it, unmute yourself. Either is fine. Smiles, Wim Hof. Thank you, Mark. Yes, I was definitely Wim Hofing this throughout the month. Your breathing was not as nearly as labored or fast on day 28 as day 1, more relaxed. I love that, Don. The smile, yeah, these are earlier. Smiles, way more smiles, breathing, calmness. Calmness. Seem more controlled. Good observation. You seem to be much more in the zone, sense of readiness, confidence. Fear has gone. I think Soraya is what that, yeah, is intended. I think that's what you meant to say. You appeared to be using breathing as a way of coping with the cold. Okay, good. All right. So these are all things that I didn't even know I was capable of when I started out. I didn't know that like I could actually get better at handling the discomfort of cold. I just thought it was painful all the time, every time, that it was just all the same, right? I started doing all this reading. Yeah, I'll no surprise. Whim always comes up when it comes to this kind of stuff, right? But there's some really good science around, cold exposure. Winter Swimming is another lovely read by Dr. Susanna Soberg. And you learn a few things, right? You learn how to control your breath. You learn that you don't want to jump in all the way to your shoulders the way I did the first time, because that creates an autonomic conflict between your calming and stress systems of the body. And when they both activate at the same time, it's really hard on your heart and other problems like this. It creates some kind of inner panic sensation. So you notice I got in like for a minute up to my chest, and then I slowly seep down to the rest. That's because of where your vagus nerve, your ventral vagus nerve sits, and other little geeky science things like this, right? But you get more skilled and you become better at managing the discomfort. Now, again, if you would have told me, as I'm reading all these, I'm watching all these people do it. I'm reading all about them. I'm seeing all these happy faces, all these Nordic folks, in Northern Europe who do this, as their favorite pastime. And I'm thinking they're laughing, they're celebrating. I'm like, that's never going to happen to me. These people are insane. And yet it did. And so I want you to just hold the contradiction of what your brain might predict when it comes to discomfort and what actually happens in your experience. Because again, my first time, it was sheer panic, right? And by the end, I was just like a different version of myself. This is 28 days. This isn't like 6 months or 6 years. This is 28 days. And I'd actually learned a skill that was really, I showed up differently, very differently in the face of discomfort. And by the way, I'll just say this because I don't want anybody saying, well, yeah, that's nice for you. You must have some special power. Oh, no, I don't. This is a nervous system thing, right? My nervous system is very average, very, I don't have any special powers. This is what tolerance or habituation or capacity to manage difficult experiences, emotions, and sensations looks and feels like. It's actually a skill set that anyone can get better at. I just want to put forth this hypothesis that everything we want in life lies on the other side of discomfort. Better health. Oh yeah, get into the gym. Shoot, that's uncomfortable. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort, a lot of burning sensation when I'm lifting those weights, right? Better health, right? Skills. I want to learn how to play the guitar. Oh, that's a lot of practice. My daughter right now is learning the violin with a really excellent violin teacher. And ooh, she is pushing my daughter. And I love it. And I'm watching my daughter like rise to it, but it's like a struggle because it's so much effort, right? Better habits of almost any kind take tons of effort. Academic success, work success, right? When you get a new job or promotion or a job title maybe, and you feel out of your depth, it's like, whoa, yeah, it's uncomfortable, right? Leadership, anybody who's been in a role of leadership, and I know many of you have, it's essentially just a series of uncomfortable conversations. Congratulations, you've got a new job in leadership. You're just going to be really uncomfortable for the next 5 or so years, however long you're in that position. Good relationships. So John Gottman's research and others has shown that actually what predicts longevity in our relationships, one of the best predictors is actually the way we handle conflict, not the good times. So it's like, wow, can I hold space for the disagreement and not run away from it, avoid, blow up in the face of the aversive or difficult emotion I'm experiencing? Can I just process through it? And if I can do that, I'm going to hold on to my relationships, specifically my closest relationships. Confidence, we know from the research, emerges when we overcome challenge. right? So over and over and over again, this theme of discomfort, it's like this bridge that's like, oh, I wish I didn't have to walk across it, but I want all that good stuff on the other side. And how do I get there? It's like, oh, there's one path. There's this one lovely study done by Nicholas Epley and colleagues at University of Chicago. So Nicholas Epley is obviously a very curious social scientist. He's a psychologist. And he was on the bus one day and he was looking around and he saw everybody doing what people do on public transportation, which is what you're looking at. And he wondered why nobody was tapping into the source of happiness at their right or left, namely the other person sitting next to them. And he started realizing, oh, well, it's the discomfort, right? There's some awkwardness to initiating conversation with strangers, and we rather stay comfortable on our devices, of course. And we have stuff to do, and there's plenty of justifications for why we wouldn't initiate conversation. Besides, do we want to really bug the person? They probably have things to do too, don't they? Right. So, but Nicholas Epley knew that, like, socializing, even with strangers, has these amazing impacts on mental health and well-being. Mariana brought this up earlier about wellness, coaching for wellness. Just being in conversation with other humans does wonders for our mental health. So Nicholas Epley thought he'd do it. Him and his grad students thought, oh, let's do an experiment here. We're going to train people to get on buses in Chicago, and we're going to train them to actually sit down next to a perfect stranger and have a conversation. This doesn't sound like rocket science, it just sounds like, socializing, but most people don't do it by default. So that's what they did. They brought people into the lab. Oops, sorry. They brought people into the lab. They said, okay, you're going to get on at this point. You're going to get off at this point. And I want you to sit down or strike up a conversation with some perfect stranger you don't know yet. But before you do that, we're going to ask you a few questions. What do you think this experience is going to feel like? Oh, it's going to be awkward. I'm already nervous about it. I got like sweaty palms. My heart's going to start racing. I know it. Like, I don't want to do this. They're like, I know. Okay. Anything else? Right. And then they do it. They go for it. They get on the bus. They initiate conversation with a stranger, and then they get off at the designated place. Now, there's a researcher there waiting for them and ask them the same questions. How did that experience feel for you? And the response is, oh my gosh, we had so much fun. I had no idea. They live right around the corner from me. We've never met each other. Like, our kids play at the same playground, and yet we've never bumped into each other. So it was so much fun. It was like, I mean, I don't know, maybe we'll be friends or something. I mean, connection, enjoyment, elation, joy, like all these positive emotions. That was the outcome of initiating conversation with a perfect stranger. All right, so I just want you to hold that because the brain is predicting anxiety, specifically awkwardness, discomfort, hard. This is going to be this big deal. But the actual experience on the other side is connection, joy, elation, positive emotion, a whole variety of positive emotion. That's what we call a prediction error. And brains are full of them. I've never quite put this together. If you ever heard somebody say, "Oh, you're full of it," well, what we are full of is prediction errors. Actually, it turns out, lots of them. It's specifically in this kind of a case where we're afraid of something, and it turns out it's not only not as bad, it's typically quite good, but our brain is predicting it's going to be pretty negative and aversive. Okay, they had, because they're good researchers, somebody else on the bus to verify that what they said was going to happen actually happened. This was a person sort of undercover. And that person, after the participant got off the bus, walked up to the perfect stranger and said, "Hi there, my name's so-and-so. You were just part of a study we're doing in Chicago. I just have a question for you, a couple of questions for you. What was that experience like for you?" Oh my gosh. I never talk to people on the commute. It was such a delight. I'm so glad she talked to me. Like, we had so much in common. The same kind of joy, connection, positive emotion. So not only did the person initiating conversation have a positive experience, but the person receiving that initiation into that conversation, who just reciprocated it, also had a really, really positive emotional experience. So I got to thinking, well, maybe my brain's up to things that keep me small, stuck, and otherwise afraid. what could I start doing in addition to my cold plunging that also might look like a 30-day challenge? And I, of course, took inspiration from initiating conversation with a stranger because I was painfully shy as a child. I moved, for those who know the Salt Lake Valley area, I moved from Hunter Elementary School in West Valley to Viewmont Elementary School in Murray, Utah. So, it's what, 20, 25 minutes away. For those who don't know the area, it's sort of halfway across town. Around Thanksgiving weekend of my kindergarten year, this is my kindergarten picture. My teacher on the last day of school pulls my mom aside and says, "This is the first day James has ever spoken to another student in our class." My mom swears, but I literally still have a little bit of doubt about the story, but she swears by it that was what happened. And I'm like, wow, whoa. So I'm not exactly a raging extrovert. Let's just say that. So I'm like, I've learned to become a little more extrovert. I'm more like an ambivert, but I trend introvert. If you leave me to my own devices, I'll curl up with a good book for literally weeks on end. I'm fine. Like, I'm just fine. Cabin in a book. I'm fine. So initiating conversation is not actually something I do naturally. And I decided, oh, this is a good spot. There it is. Discomfort. Let's try it out. See what happens. So in my building, which is shared office space, I decided I'm going to introduce myself to other people in the building that I don't know, because I don't initiate conversations in the hallways or in the bathroom or wherever you find these other perfect strangers who you share space with. So I decided I was going to knock on doors and start introducing myself and saying, "Hey, I'm your neighbor. I'm down the hall. What's your name?" There's one of those times. Hey man, sorry to bug you. I'm just trying to introduce myself. I'm just over here in this little nook. I'm James.
Oh, hi, I'm Ben.
What's your Ben?
Yeah, Ben.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I'm just introducing myself. Did you what do you do?
I call people about real estate all day.
Oh,
Mostly what I do.
nice. Okay.
Every once in a while I get to get out of here and travel.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What kind of real estate do you do?
Mostly multifamily.
Multifamily.
Yep.
Okay.
Apartment buildings.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah, it's all right.
All right.
It can get frustrating at times, but normally it's all right.
You do like you're in the sales
Yep.
side of it?
Yep.
Yeah, interesting.
Yep. Just calling people all day and seeing if they want to sell something.
Yeah, that's intense.
It's a lot of calls. It's a lot of calls.
Yeah.
But you end up meeting some fun people. You end up meeting a few people that aren't so fun, and overall, it's a job.
It's a job. Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
job.
totally get that. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'm literally just I'm your neighbor. So
Yeah, I've seen you a few times.
yeah.
What do you do?
So I run a company called Brain by Design, and I do a few different things. I teach a class on the brain actually every 8 weeks, and then I have one-on-one clients I see on a regular basis. I do some work with companies, training and speaking. So my background's in brain and behavioral science, so I kind of translate that into like applied settings or applied. It's kind of like really applied neuroscience. Maybe that's the way to think about it.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's an interesting stuff. From a guy who does sales all the time, that's an interesting place to come from.
Yeah, no, I like it. I really like it.
It's great.
All right, dude.
Well, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, no,
After
it's such a
work,
pleasure,
we'll
man.
certainly see you around.
Yeah, hope to see you around.
Yeah.
All right. So this was actually a recreation, in case anybody was wondering. But the original conversation looked about identical to what you just saw. Um, which was about 1 to 2 minutes of like kind of like choppy back and forth, right? It was okay, but it's a little awkward, right? I'm a little nervous because I'm interrupting him. I'm assuming I'm making him upset because he's in some state of productivity and I'm messing up his flow, right? Uh, but I did it anyway. And by, minute 3-ish, we sort of loosened up and warmed up. And now he's literally right there. Ben is a good friend. We talk all the time now. We talk about marketing. We talk about how his business is going, we strategize. He's like a genuine friend. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm pretty sure that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't initiated the conversation with him. We would have been cordial acquaintances, smiling in the hall. Hey, how's it going? Oh, good. What was your name? Yeah. Oh, great. Have a nice day. That kind of thing, right? But it's different now because I took the initiative to actually initiate the conversation. And then I started doing this with everybody in my building. Sorry, if you're in my building, I'm coming on your door. Hello. Hello, how's it going? Right. And again, every time I was like, oh yeah. And I did this every day. So it was in my whole building. I wanted to get to know people. These are people I care about. These are people I want to get to know because I'm in the same space as them. But I did this at the grocery store, at the post office, at the bike shop, just initiating conversation because I find it uncomfortable. And what I found was that it changed over time. The more I did it, the easier it got. My brain kept predicting it's always going to feel this awkward, and it was wrong. All right, we're going to talk about why. This is your comfort zone. This is where most of us, given the choice, would stay most of our day. In fact, many of us do stay there, and there's nothing wrong with the comfort zone. It's nice and cozy in there. Again, if you just ask me, James, where would you like to be? I will say my comfort zone. All coaching happens outside. Not all coaching, but coaching where people are growing typically moves beyond that boundary. And this is our growth zone. Sometimes it's called our stretch zone. Sometimes our sort of, just outside of our comfort zone, right? This is Lev Vygotsky, the very famous social psychologist, called this the zone of proximal development. Sorry, I'm a little turned up my mic so you could hear the video better. Sorry if that was a little loud there. Called this it's not too loud. Okay, great, thanks. Called this the zone of proximal development. All right, so you have the place where things are easy. You have this place where it's kind of difficult, but not so difficult that it's overwhelming. And then you do have an outer ring, which is something like your panic zone. And generally speaking, when we're talking about discomfort, we're not talking about throwing people in the deep end. That's a problem and an unskillful way to do what we're doing. And I see this a lot, actually, where people are like, oh yeah, discomfort. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I'm going to do like some crazy stuff. And like, it's like, well, okay. Brains rebel if it gets too crazy. All right. So, and again, when it comes to clients, we're really talking about what Albert Bandura called guided mastery. We're really working with people systematically in this very step-by-step kind of way, where they're not overwhelmed by the discomfort. They're systematically desensitizing to the discomfort. And there is a massive difference. So we're looking for what I call the Goldilocks zone, which is it's not, easy peasy, but it's also not so overwhelming that it shuts you down or overwhelms, or again, sometimes can even traumatize people. Okay. Now, if I were to define discomfort, the productive, the healthy, desirable kind of discomfort, the discomfort that's conducive to growth. Sorry, I skipped over this part. Sorry, this is my clearest definition of growth. Discomfort is the price of growth. So if you're thinking about, okay, I want to grow, I want to get better, I want to be in this personal growth and development space, I really need to enter the amusement park of growth. And there's a fee, there's a ticket, there's a cost. It's not a fine, to be clear, there's nothing wrong. That's just what it is. That's the price of growth. But again, as I was saying before, it's not all discomfort. Right? It's discomfort of a particular variety, discomfort that's freely chosen. In other words, I opt into it. Nobody's forcing me to. I choose it in the service of something bigger than the discomfort itself. This is what I would define as productive or healthy or growth-infused discomfort. In other words, if this isn't in the service of a goal I have or a habit I'm trying to create or a skill I'm trying to acquire or a relationship I'm trying to improve or a capacity that I'm trying to build, I'm pretty sure it's just suffering. Like suffering with, or sorry, discomfort without some other kind of bigger overarching goal tends to just look like pain, which isn't actually what we're after here. Okay. All of that said, those definitions and sort of nuanced, we're kind of getting more nuanced understanding here. There is something like an emotional discomfort, Jim. You know, I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt, right? Who said, do something that scares you every day. Like there's all these phrases we have and maxims, you know, culturally that people understand this intuitively from their own experience. The question I like to ask is, did I get my daily dose? You know, did I get my like discomfort vitamins for the day? Did I get to the discomfort gym? Because we know physical gyms are great for us, but what about emotional? What does that even look? What is an emotional gym? Typically, it's actually embracing discomfort or maybe sometimes even seeking discomfort again in the service of growth. So how do we get better at discomfort? Because again, I've been hinting that this is a skill set you can actually get better at. And I've already used the word, which is desensitization or habituation. So back to those challenges I was describing. Let's talk about the initiating conversation with a stranger. Yeah, this is me. Right? It's like, especially when they're not friendly. Like Ben was pretty friendly. But sometimes they are really bugged, you know? And you're like, oh boy, this is not going well, you know? You have this big emotional response. So you have this big peak and then event over time, it crests and then it slowly starts getting back to baseline homeostasis. And that is an emotional cycle or emotional, it's kind of your emotional shelf life. Emotions have this kind of shelf life to them. Now, the more I started doing this throughout the month of these challenges, the more that mountain became just a little bit smaller. So it was here, and then it became this. Now, that's not enough to say it's nothing, obviously, but it's a little bit better. And by about day 15, it was like, oh yeah, okay, I think I can do this. I'm still anxious or nervous about this, but I'm kind of getting familiar with it. Like there's kind of a rhythm to it. And I'm learning things, right? And as the month went on, day 20, day 25, it got even smaller. And eventually it was like a little molehill. So I turned a mountain of anxiety into a molehill of anxiety. I haven't said it quite that way. Over time, not me, actually. It was the repeated exposure to the thing I was afraid of that my nervous system turned into this little molehill. It went from Mount Olympus to a little speed bump. Sorry for those in Utah, you know what I'm saying. That's what happened. And this is an intrinsic property of all nervous systems. I want to just be clear, my nervous system isn't special. It's not unique. It's very normal. It's probably slightly below average most of the time. but every nervous system with repeated exposure to something we're afraid of desensitizes and extinguishes the fear. This is one of the most powerful insights when it comes to fear, anxiety, discomfort, or other aversive emotions. All right. Oh, all right. We are on day. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. I've got one more challenge to share with you, which is I decided, okay, I don't know about you guys, but I hate sales. Or I always have at least. You know, it's like every coach. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Every coach I talk to, it's like, what's your experience being a coach? Oh, I love the coaching part. I just don't like the business part. What they mean is sales, the discomfort around sales and marketing, right? Putting ourselves out there, talking about what we offer, talking about our prices, all this awkward, difficult emotion around sales, right? But if you don't do sales, you don't have a business. We all know this. So what's standing between us and the business we're trying to create as coaches? Discomfort. So I decided, because I hate cold calls, that I would do a 30-day challenge with cold calls. Here we go. Day 9 of the cold call challenge. Today's a repeat from last week. Didn't hear back from anything, so I thought I would try them back. So here we go. Person I was calling lived in Utah, by the way. Sorry, that's just a little asterisk to the story. When you see what happened.
Hello?
Hi, is Brian available? Is this Brian? Oh, shoot. I think I just got hung up on. That's good. That's good practice, right? It's good practice. Good practice. All right, day 9. All right, rejection 101, right? This is the hardest part of reaching out, of doing doing cold, especially cold reach out, but even like lukewarm reach out. It's all similar in its feeling and its sensation because we're going to get rejected. That's the anticipation, right? Brain is predicting rejection, rejection, rejection. Back away, hide behind the computer, type a response. Don't call them. So much easier to talk over InMail at LinkedIn or email, right? And that's what I would always do when anybody would inbound me with a question. Of course, I would type a response back. After this challenge, whenever somebody would inbound me with a question, they would get a call. Was one of the clearest changes that happened in my business when anybody inquired by email. I looked for their phone number in the signature line and I gave them a call back. Why? Well, because they have 5 questions, not 1 to begin with. And once I get them in a conversation and I see myself as a purveyor of information, not trying to needle them or pressure them into buying something that I'm offering, I'm just providing accurate information and answering their questions that probably aren't super well defined on the website, or maybe we don't address them. In any case, it's amazing how much a little shift like this can have for your business. First of all, people love it because they're like, geez, nobody calls anymore. And secondly, oh my gosh, it's way more efficient. They kind of expected you to reach out anyway. So they're not like bugged because you're calling because they just reached out to you, right? But anyway, these little things change you. They change your relationship with the thing. And this one was a big one for me. This particular challenge, even though it changed a few things for me, I was still like, ooh, 30 days wasn't enough. I was like, oh, there's a lot more there. There's a lot more there. So I ended up building a whole kind of marketing and sales kind of apparatus into our business, partly because I knew I had to face this fear or it would eat me. Like my business would never thrive. And so I did. And this is what my calendar started looking like. This is my actual calendar. These are screenshots from my actual calendar. These are all sales calls. One after the other, all day, pretty much every day when I wasn't doing client or courses, which was usually my Thursdays and Fridays, my Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, had this setup. Now, there's lots of motivations kind of working together with a scenario like this. But the biggest and deepest one for me was actually the fear. Because I know the science, I know desensitization so well. I know the science so well. I can tell you all about it. But until I'd actually done it and really walked through that experience, I couldn't really actually speak to it for real. And it's changed me. Now, do I love sales? No. But am I bugged by them? Not really. Not anymore. I've changed as a person because of this, because of exposure to the thing I was afraid of. All right. Scientists call this skill we're describing, there's a technical term for it, distress tolerance. Distress tolerance. By the way, I'm not recommending this book. It's that distressing. Sorry. It's It's academically dense. I'll just say that. You can read it if you want, but woo, it's a labor of love to get through. Okay. There's a lot of research here of what I'm trying to highlight. There's a lot of research into what this is, how it works, how it plays out in mental health space with clinicians. And the bottom line is a lot of scientists believe that this is root cause. One of the biggest things root cause that ails us in many different areas of our lives. In other words, when someone has specifically in the mental health space, when we have what look like symptoms in the branches, when we get back down to the root, what is the root? Oftentimes it's how we deal with stress and difficult emotions, aversive emotions. Do we run away from them? Do we numb them? Do we hide from them? Do we blow up in the face of them? What do we do with them? How do we manage? How do we cope? That's distress tolerance. And the better we get at this, the better our life gets, right? The better our clients' lives get. And this is the core skill set we're talking about. All right. Now, your brain's default is to avoid discomfort. That's just what brains do. So the question is, how do you actually get it to embrace discomfort? James, you still haven't solved the oxymoron that you brought up in the beginning, which is discomfort. Brains like to avoid discomfort. So how do you actually train the brain to embrace discomfort if discomfort is a necessary condition for growth? Well, I realized if I just kept throwing myself into uncomfortable situations, eventually my brain would rebel, which is exactly what brains do. So I realized I have to add something to it or else it doesn't work. And so I decided to add or try adding a little fun. And because the words go together so well, I just decided to combine them. So this is what we're talking about for the rest of the time today, is how to not just embrace discomfort, but actually make it enjoyable. Let's talk about how. All right. Anybody heard of athletic greens? I'm sure some of you drink it. Yeah. Okay. Just a green drink. There's plenty of them on the market. You know, they're not great. They advertise they're really tasty. They taste about as good as lawn shavings. I mean, they're not great. You know, this one helps if you like get the water cold and do it with cold water. It's a little more palatable. But I put this in front of my kids in the morning. Yes, I'm one of those dads. Not that much. This is mine. Not that much. Just a little bit. And every morning they push it away. Ew, that's disgusting. Dad, you're so disgusting. Don't put that green sludge in front of my face. You know, this is my 11-year-old. And one morning I'm like, I'm failing at this. This is not working. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh my gosh, of course. So one morning I go, hey guys, anybody ever played the biggest green mustache game? My kids are like, what? I'm like, wait, no, wait, just watch. So I grab mine and I lift it out of my mouth. And I get this huge green mustache and I say, who can beat that? And my two kids get this look in their eye. Like, it's on, Dad. And my daughter, Sophie, is like, not only can I do it, I can do it with flair. I can make perfect lines. She's the artiste in the family. I mean, it's like flipping Salvador Dali with those curly edges. I mean, like, wow, you know? And then there was Eon, who's not to be outdone by his sister, who's like, you know what? We're going for the full goatee, Dad. Let's go all the way. Now, the kids, I look in their glasses and sure enough, no surprise, it's gone. There was no arm twisting, no wrangling, no coercing, no, if you don't, no, you can't have the nice, delicious thing until, no. It changed their relationship to this aversive or difficult or uncomfortable activity because we played a little game. So we added an element of fun or enjoyment, and this is why it worked. There's this part of your brain above your eyes called your orbitofrontal cortex. Its job is to keep track of how fun things are. Is that cool? Its actual job description is to keep track of how enjoyable, they call this a reward hierarchy, in memory. It stores it in like a ladder, like a rank ordered system for how enjoyable things are. And what matters most is the things that are up toward the top of the ladder, your brain wants to do again. So think of it like an upside down stoplight. Higher you go, the greener it gets, the better it gets. Lower you go, the redder it gets, right? So more rewarding toward the top, less rewarding toward the bottom. But here's the key. The higher you go on the ladder, the more your brain says, let's do it again. I want you to think about your clients and the process of behavior change or habit creation. What is their experience, their emotional experience been like with that kind of a process? Let some examples kind of roll through your mind right now. Losing weight, that one's always so, it's like always like so present. And again, there's different ways to frame that and to work with that, with health outcomes. But whatever it is, better sleep, better, eating, better, getting to the gym, right? And think of the emotional toll it's taken on them, not only to do those things, but to often is the case, have not succeeded or repeatedly not succeeded. Where do you think those things are sitting in their orbitofrontal cortex? Way down at the bottom of the ladder, way down there, way down there. And so the brain's like, that sucks. I hate the gym. Exercise is for, I don't know, people who are like crazy, but not me. Never again. I was embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I felt like I didn't belong. I didn't know how to use those stupid machines. And then I went to the Pilates class and like they put me on the front row and I was like, really? Whatever the experience is going to affect where it sits on the ladder. All right, let me take running. I don't like running, but I do it. Why do I do it? I didn't do it, to be clear, until about 2019, which is when this started. So if you ask James, hey, where does running sit for you? It's usually like down here, just left to its own devices. But when I do it with my friend Johnny, who lives a few houses down, guess what happens? Running gets better. And if I do it in this form, which is my wife this is me and my wife at a Color Be Rad race in Southern Utah, since you're all in the area, it was like a full-on party. I don't even remember I think it was a 5K. I don't even remember. I just know we had a lot of fun and there was a lot of color. Same activity, different places on the reward hierarchy, or way your brain remembers it. So you add positive emotion, other people, any kind of joy, enjoyment, and when I say fun, I'm casting a wide net here. Any positive emotion you can add to something that's uncomfortable will change your brain's relationship to it. All right, 3 ways to make discomfort fun. Number 1, fun fusing. Fun fusing. Something uncomfortable with something fun. It's not that complicated. And a lot of you probably do this already, but we're just trying to put some structure around this and some sort of science around this. So, exercise. I hate exercise, but I love Netflix. So why don't I put them together? I can watch as much Netflix as I want, so long as my legs are moving. Oh, yeah, that's an interesting rule. That one's actually emerged in coaching sessions before that I've had with folks. They call this temptation bundling in the science. It's a terrible term. I don't like the term. I think it's very confusing. But it's pairing something that's difficult with something that's enjoyable, positive emotion, fun. It gives you a kind of positive experience or emotional experience. All right, dishes. Who loves dishes? Yeah, me neither. There might be some of you out there. But when you do them with somebody, you know what this feels like? It's way better. Way better, right? Way better. It's something about being alone in the kitchen. It's late at night and it's so painful to get through those dishes. When you're doing with somebody, it just changes the dynamic. To be clear, sometimes the person could just be in the room talking to you. This is what I'll often do with when I ask my wife to join me in the kitchen while I'm doing the dishes. I'm like, hey, love, I don't need your help, but could you come just keep me company? Dishes are just easier. I mean, and if she won't, and she can't, if she's got other things, great. I call a friend or a family member. They all know it. Hey, Jay, you doing dishes again? They all joke a little bit about it. Yeah. And I'm like, what? Yeah, okay, busted. Yeah, I am. How you doing? How you doing, Bryson? That's my youngest brother. Um, they all know I call them when I'm doing boring things that I don't like to do. All right, email, same thing, but doing email outside, different experience. Well, how many times do I think when I'm procrastinating my email that the problem is my location? Never. The problem is me. I can't get myself to do this dang thing, right? Turn on a hotspot, go to a nice cafe, or if it's cold, if it's warm, go to a park and do it outside. It's fall season right now, right? Clear out the inbox with leaves falling around you. That sounds pretty great. Now, again, office email, yeah, not so bueno. Outside email, way better. Same activity, different place on the reward hierarchy. Your brain wants to do it again. We are getting into the emotional roots of procrastination, by the way, just to be clear. This is one of these ways to self-motivate. And again, as you get this skill and you start seeing this, it becomes self-motivation is actually a learnable skill. All right. I'm gonna go fast, you guys. We're gonna do this. We've got 1 minute to write down something you're procrastinating and one fun thing you'd like to pair it with. And then we'll have 3 people share what that was for them. And then we're gonna keep going. What am I procrastinating? By the way, we all procrastinate. And one fun thing you'd like to pair it with, right? Could be anything. All right. Who would like to share? We'll do 3 people. Who would like to share? Who's Kitty?
All right, Kitty, Danielle, Amy.
Go ahead, Kitty.
Yeah. So I sat for my ICF ACC. Well, I sat for my ICF exam back in July, and I didn't pass. And so I wanted to resit the exam, but I was thinking, oh no, this looked so dire to actually resit. And I thought, how can I make this a little bit more fun and motivating for me? And I thought, I just have to be in a study group. There's no way. So that was a little bit uncomfortable, me going out there and saying, you know what, who's interested in, studying together with me and that. And so someone was interested, actually 2 people were. And so we're in a study group and it's much more fun now. And I'm motivated and I don't procrastinate so much. So that was my solution.
I love it. I love it, Kitty. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Appreciate it. And there was 2 more. Mariana, or somebody said their names and I didn't catch it.
Danielle and Amy. Yeah.
Please.
Hey, James, zooming in from Salt Lake. So it's so cool that you lived here at one time. Yeah, so for me, I'm adding modules to a course that I have online, and it's the most important part of the course, the mindset part of the course. And in a way, I've waited the last because that's the most important part of the course, and yet I can't seem to bring myself to write the course outline for whatever reason. And so for me, it's going to a coffee house. It's going to a coffee house and getting my favorite coffee, maybe even a treat, and removing myself from my house. And so that's a great strategy.
Love it. Thank you, Danielle. Oh, so many good coffee shops. Smells, right? The music, the vibe. So good. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I can just really quickly. Also, the fun part is also going to a coffee shop with a treat. But and I'm totally stealing this from you guys because I hadn't really thought of having like the task that I procrastinate is like social media posts and like, getting on LinkedIn and saying hello, I just don't do it. Like, I don't know. It's almost like I feel like I don't mean to not do it, but I don't do it. So I love the idea of like, okay, I'm just going to say at 10 o'clock on Thursday, I'm going to go to the coffee shop that's 2 blocks away, get a yummy coffee, and then that's what I will do there. I think it could work.
I think it could. I think it could. Thank you, Amy. I so appreciate this. I like this group. I like this group. Um, I know that others want to probably share. We're getting pretty close to wrapping up here, and I want to make sure we get all the way to the end. But keep thinking about this. Keep thinking about what it is you procrastinate, and realize that procrastination is an emotional resistance. It's nothing more. Procrastination is an emotional phenomenon. And there are ways to outsmart it. Brains, when you understand them, have a kind of logic to them, a kind of user's manual for your brain. It's just that none of us got it when we were born. Dang it. But if you turn to page 17, you can learn a few things. And if you turn to page 12, there's a couple other things. If you turn to page 39, there's a couple other things that might help you solve the problem you're facing. Because when you understand how brains actually work, you can actually start really learning how to overcome these things like procrastination emotions associated with procrastination. You can learn how to overcome, go around, go under that experience. And again, the broader skill set we're talking about in this instance is called self-motivation. You can learn actually how to self-motivate. This is what scientists are discovering. Okay. Fun framing. So fun fusing, pairing, right? Fun framing is number 2. We do this all the time as coaches. Reframing, right? Reframe this, reframe that. Scientists call this cognitive reappraisal. That's the technical term. But we know that this is a big deal. It's a big deal because feeling follows frame. To be very clear, this is what the entire therapeutic modality of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is based on, this one insight. Feeling follows frame. We know from Kevin Oxner's lab at Columbia and others that this is true. If we interpret a situation in a certain way, that an emotion will flow afterward from that interpretation, the meaning we give that. So if I say, oh my gosh, this always happens. What a disaster. I've just catastrophized a situation, roughly speaking. That's what a CBT therapist would probably call that. When I could have potentially said, wow, this is really unfortunate, but I've been here before, and I think we got this. I'm going to have 2 very different emotions. Very different emotions. All right, quick story. Ian, little guy, discovered that Halloween is like amazing. And last year, he decided, well, we went to Pete's farm stand. There's a lot of them in our neck of the woods here. And we found this pumpkin that was just his size. He would carry it around with him. He'd bring it on his little car seat. He'd put it on his high chair. He would sleep with it. It was like his little stuffy. He loved that pumpkin. So one day I'm making breakfast, whipping up some eggs, I put it on the high chair behind me, and he's behind me. And I'm just cooking breakfast. And all of a sudden I hear a thud. And I know exactly what's happened. I hadn't even turned around. So I turn around, and the pumpkin has fallen, hit the ground, broken in 2, but it kind of rolled under the high chair. He hasn't seen it yet. I'm running across the kitchen while my brain lightning fast is trying to come up with ways to prevent a volcanic eruption of emotional disappointment. I grab the pumpkin, I hold it up in 2 pieces, and I say, Eon, no way. we got one of the special pumpkins, the kind that open up the week of Halloween. He lost his mind. He was so excited that we were chosen to get one of the special pumpkins that open up the week of Halloween. He didn't even know that's how pumpkins worked. Feeling follows frame. I reframed it. He had a very beautiful, surprising, shocking actually to me, feeling that flowed from it, which was excitement. And so much so that he actually kept it weeks after Halloween and it started curling in at the edges. This was the special pumpkin. All right, feeling follows frame. So game frame is one of my favorite frames. If you can turn something into a game, this isn't for kids. I mean, kids do it all the time because kids are pretty intuitively smart at these kind of things. And when kids say, I just want to have fun, is it going to be fun? They're onto something. They're onto an insight that we lose as we age, by the way. And that's that games make us want to do things again. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be fun and life is just Skittles and unicorns. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. It's that the hard stuff that we've got to do, or if we want to grow, we need to do, can change if we frame it like a game. One of my favorite games is called the DQ game. I'm not talking Dairy Queen. I'm talking your discomfort quotient. DQ. How do you play the DQ game? Well, you tally up the number of times you embrace discomfort in a day. How many times did I embrace it? How many times did I actually hold space for it and not avoid it or run away from it? And I divide that by the number of times I experienced discomfort. So experienced is the total. Embraced is a ratio or percentage of how many times I did that. And that gives my daily DQ score. You can see where this is going. It gives me a percentage. I actually keep track of this on an app. So it's called Tally, Tally, the anything tracker. You just program the buttons. You just write in embrace discomfort. And every time I embrace it, I actually click a button and say, I did it. Woo! See? Evidence, proof. I did it. I embraced discomfort. I got a point. Now that might sound a little, I don't know, childish, but let me tell you what's happened in my life. And there were plenty of times when I didn't embrace discomfort, right? This particular day was 4 out of 7. So that gives me 4 out of 7 for the day, which is 57% of the day of the opportunities to embrace discomfort that I actually did it. And I can actually track it as well over time. All of a sudden, this nebulous, abstract idea of getting better at discomfort becomes trackable, monitorable, actually tangible. I can see it. Whereas before it was like I don't even know what we were talking about in that coaching session. This is like, wow, that's data. I can track that. Now, not everybody's going to relate to this, but a lot of your clients will, especially folks who are interested in getting better, right? And getting better at discomfort. This is one of my favorite ways to do it. All right. My wife, Shaylin, she's phenomenal. I love her to death. Generally speaking, this is where she sits on my reward hierarchy. Except when she gives me feedback. And then that sometimes happens. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this experience of you telling me that I'm messing up or I could do better, or I didn't show up the way I should have. But I remember in that moment that I'm playing the DQ game. And if I ask her a question like, okay, how did you experience that? Or, oh, I didn't realize.
Oh no. I think we just lost James. I think he hit the button and he left. We'll see.
Whoops.
I know. I was like, wait, what does he say to her?
He just wanted to leave us on a cliffhanger.
He totally left us on a cliffhanger. I bet he'll be right back. Oh, there he is. You wanted to leave us on a cliffhanger, didn't you, James?
I did not. I didn't mean to like the middle of my marriage. I did not mean to leave you guys on a cliffhanger. Wow, that was getting intense.
A big cliffhanger.
Big cliffhanger. Let's get some resolution to that story. Don't know what happened there. All right. But I'm playing the DQ game, and all of a sudden my relationship with the discomfort changes because I'm like, oh, that's what I'm working on. And I get a point. If I hold space for the discomfort, it shouldn't work. It's like too easy. It's like, wait, your brain will actually ask questions and be more receptive to getting feedback if you're playing this flippin' DQ game? Surprise, it works almost every time. Now, is it perfect? No. Like, is feedback easy for me? Not really. But is it easier? Oh, yeah. And I'm getting better at it. And so again, when I'm playing the DQ game, it's like, oh, she may not be in the green zone, but she's somewhere in the middle, right? So again, just want you to think about when the last time you got feedback was, okay? And what it might look like for you to play the DQ game when you get feedback next time. All right, we're going to end this off with fun filling, daily deposits of fun. Fun filling is not optional. It's not optional, even though it might feel optional. For anybody wondering, this is what self-care is. All right. And I'm talking about meditation, exercise, time for yourself, taking actual time off from work, being with loved ones outside of work hours, not just constantly tethered to the phone or the laptop. There's deep psychological research around this, which is if you don't actually fill up the reservoir of resilience, you have nothing to draw on when times are difficult. And so you end up basically moving straight toward a trajectory of burnout. And that burnout is devastating. It's devastating. So again, it's like, what do those fun deposits look like? Well, there's a lot of them. They're all over. We're just not looking for them most of the time. All right. We're going to get to Q&A. Oh, sorry. In summary, fun fusing, pairing, okay? Something difficult with something enjoyable. Fun framing, the DQ game. Fun framing, turning it into a game, the game frame. And fun filling, how do I increase the time that I devote and invest in my wellness, my well-being, and otherwise my capacity to do these difficult things I'm trying to do in the world. All right. Questions around what we've discussed so far. By the way, this is we wrote a report. I wrote a report on everything we've talked about today, specifically how to use it with clients. So if you're interested in that, if that feels useful to you, it's like a step-by-step for everything we've talked about. So I know some of you taking notes. Everything's in there. And let me just put that in the chat as well. Okay, questions.
Danielle. Oh, you're on mute. Yeah.
I know. I figured it out. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what I can do. I have a number of clients that I coach in the career space, unhappy careers, trying to move to happy careers. And I have found I start to coach and it's really great. And everybody's really excited at the beginning. They learn their strengths and all that. And then they hit this like wall and it's just crash. And I've been trying really hard to try to figure this out, like, because it's not like personal growth and like my other coaching clients. This is really about career stuff. So it's applying for jobs, it's networking, it's updating your resume, all that stuff. And I feel like I've been really struggling with how to address this issue. And I actually feel quite stuck as a coach and have lost my own confidence. So I think this is exactly what I needed to hear today, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about the strategies that you just come to your mind. Because it's really, really, really painful stuff to go out into the world and like pitch yourself and talk to people and apply for jobs and get rejected and all of that stuff.
It's brutal.
Mhm.
You want to know how to keep them motivated through that hard path they're on.
Yes, yes. And I'm sure I can come up with ideas after this call, but while I have you, I'm
Yeah.
just hoping
Yeah,
generating a set of ideas.
of course. So one of the biggest things, so motivation comes from a sense of progress. We know this from the research. Motivation is fueled by a sense that I'm getting closer to something that I care about, a meaningful goal.
Yes.
And so, like, for example, I don't visually keep my to-do list in front of me. I keep my all through list visually in front of me. And in fact, if I could turn this, you can see it right there. Today is a day where we're working on or it's a client day and stuff. So I don't have a bunch of things. Normally, every time I do something, I will go up there and I put something. I write it down. So what I'm looking at all day long isn't anti-progress, which is what a to-do list is. To-do list is a representation of everything I've yet to do. Right. I'm looking at progress. Now, it's not that I don't keep a to-do list. I do keep a to-do list because I got to keep things organized. I just keep it out of sight. And so there's lots of tricks like this, but shifting from a to-do list to an all-through list in terms of what's visually in your field matters enormously. If you want to try this, it works especially well with kind of routine tasks, stuff around the house. Like all-through lists are magic in terms of keeping us stay or helping us stay motivated. There's more here, but that's
Right. Fabulous.
yeah. All right. Oh my gosh, we're almost at time.
Ah, so James, we'd love to hear a little bit, and we'll leave space for questions too. So put them in the chat as well. But just, I know we talked about at the beginning the course that you have, the Brain by Design, Brain Science Advantage for Coaches, and would love to just at least hear at least a quick blurb about that, and if people are interested, what they can do about attending and going. Yeah.
Yeah, so we do, this is what, I've spent maybe 22, how old am I? I'll be 44 this month. So I've spent about 22, 23 years in the space of translating basic science into practical tools and ways that you can actually use it. I've been a coach for 9 years now. And I just find it's magic in coaching. There's such a powerful impact that knowing just a little bit of brain and behavioral science has on your practice. So we run this course. The next one starts October 31st. It's actually 32 CCEs now. That just recently changed. But it's on habits. So we start with habits. We get into productivity and what is there. And today we're talking about some of the difficult emotions, fear specifically, and well-being. So it's a robust course. We have 8 live sessions. We also have a lot of material that you go through between the live sessions. Step-by-step stuff you go through with your clients, very concrete, tangible ways to apply it. Everything is about application in the course. And it's just really fun. So there's a coupon code. Let me just put this in the chat as well.
Yeah.
There's a coupon code, High Country, will give you $400 off the course if anybody's interested. Also, if you have any other questions about it, you can just email me.
Awesome. Thanks, James. And if we have time, 2 minutes, Daniel had a good question in the chat. What would you do if a client is in the panic zone or burnout zone when they come to you?
Yeah, great question. Fundamentals. So a lot of the coaching that we end up doing is around habits. And so inevitably there's specific patterns of behavior that are leading to that burnout, right? And part of it's about raising the awareness, of course, to understand what the heck is happening. Some of that's systemic, right? I'm in a job that just the demands truly are just overwhelming. But it's often a combination of the situation someone's in and their own patterns of behavior in relation to that situation. So looking at fundamentals, I'm starting out with eating, sleep, literally eating, sleep, and exercise. Those are the foundation habits. Eating, sleep, and exercise. And again, there's a lot of really powerful science stuff that's very actionable to take in those 3 areas. And then again, from there, we're looking into relationships, meditation, and reading. Actually, those are the 3 kind of supplementary habits that I find tend to go together to create a sort of wellspring of investment in the person and in their well-being. There's plenty more here to talk about. There's plenty on burnout. Actually, if you do download the report, we have some other reports as well. One of them's on burnout and one of them's on procrastination and motivation. So so if you download that original confidence report that was in the link, you'll probably get those other you should get those other reports as well.
Very insightful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, I did put just a bunch of stuff in the chat for everyone. Your survey, don't forget to fill that out. You'll also get an email with it. And then James put the code in there, $400 off. That's awesome. Thank you, James. And most importantly, thank you for being here with us today. I've like a page of notes that just, and things what I'm personally taking away, just that idea of try something. Just try something. When I find I'm getting stuck or I'm definitely stuck in my fear, what I'm hearing from you is try something and make it fun. So appreciating having you here and the insights that you brought to all of us. So thank you to that. And check the chat because you're getting a lot of appreciations from the group too. I know that's felt by everyone. And so thank you all for being here and a part of this time with James. You know, our monthly programs are a success because of you. So we are so grateful to have you and so grateful to have you here. Thanks again, James, and hope everybody has an amazing week ahead.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Have a great rest
Thank
of your
you.
day. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, ICF. High
you.
Country.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Fun.